You ever wake up and tune into stuff, where things are, what's going on, and just want to ask yourself, the fuck cartoon timeline did I just wake up in? Like, am I in somebody else's comic book or what the fuck? Watching someone else's movie that they directed about their life. You're like, that's not my movie. That's somebody else's movie. Is this really what reality is? Is this really how reality works? Like, why does it feel so not real sometimes? I have. All too often in my life woken up like that, startled and afraid and unsure of why those thoughts are there. And part of that, I think, is just sort of organically par for the course. Like, fear and paranoia are not strange, unusual things, even in a really normal reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not encouraging fear and paranoia. I'm saying that there is such a thing as a healthy dose of fear and paranoia, because they make you question things and they make you want to check your surroundings and engage in, intuitive acts of surviving, I guess. One could make the argument. As always, friends, I do not pretend to speak from a place of knowing some absolute total truth that you must believe in. No, of course not. I'm just sharing you my thoughts about things I've observed, both in real time and in not so real time. Here's the thing that I have found to be authentically real. Whatever you think is going on, this, I think, bears out. And it's, I don't know, people argue, right, about whatever. But I think this axiom really sort of functions in reality, that this sentence describes a real barrier that you may or may not see or smell or touch or feel, but you must at some point sort of realize, oh, that must be actually happening. But those who refuse to believe in magic will never experience it, see it, find it. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I do believe that that is true. And then again, I'm the guy who made the meme that is, desperately never gone viral, that should, because I think it would help a lot of people if it was just sort of like, isn't that just common sense? Put a pin in common sense. We're doing an episode on common sense soon, or if I haven't already. Because, spoiler alert, I do not think it actually exists. I think that's a bullshit empty container of... It's like it's a self-referencing bullshit fractal of like, of course it's common. Everybody has common sense. And those who don't, they're worse than everybody else. Like, nonsense. There is no such thing. There never was. But okay, I said I'd put a pin in it. Let's not go off on that rabbit hole tangent now. That music at the beginning of the show was DJ Zed, Mission New Jazz Funk 101. We tried in here to have feelings. From The Early Years, Volume 1. If you enjoyed it, I do believe that the infamous DJ Zed and his artistic collaborator, the incorrigible Mr. Zebo, that's myself talking to you right now, we have intentions of eventually putting that up on Bandcamp. For like relatively stupid cheap. Like I don't want to make millions of dollars. I just don't want to die of poverty in America. I'm just being melodramatic, folks. Or am I? Also, I'm trying to seriously be a weird DJ music production person guy that sells cheap tracks that you can then, put in your plays or something. Yeah. On that note, by the way, I have a fun, exciting announcement, which is something I have been really excited to make happen, and it is finally sort of going to happen, in particular with a particular artist. Rogue Sinner, which is a up-and-coming, I think, in my opinion, really talented music production entity, has honored me with permission to play their music on the show. And there's a cool new track that's just dropped on SoundCloud and other places, I believe. And there's a link. There's a Songwhip link. If you've never been to Songwhip. Is it like the Cool? Can we make the Cool Whip bit out of the Songwhip? Songwhip.com/song/ obviously / right? Rogue-Sinner, like hyphen, Rogue Sinner. And if you don't know how to spell rogue, I am one of those people that, like, if I was at D&D and they're like, spell rogue, or we kick you out of the D&D club, I'd be like, I'm going to write this wrong. I'm stupid. I don't know. So it's ROGUE. I'm not judging anybody. I literally would have spelled that so horribly, like, made up. I don't even know what that word is. Kind of dumb. If you forced me at gunpoint at a D&D convention, I would have, like, shat my pants. -sinner. The traditional sinner, like, out of the Bible. SINNER. / delusional. There's another word. I swear to God. Like, I know what it means. I know how to use it in a sentence. Kill me if I won't spell it wrong every time. No matter how few death threats are coming at me. So I'm going to spell it out loud. Don't judge me. Don't judge anybody that might misspell this word. Let's all just stop judging each other, folks. Delusional. DELUSIONAL. And that should get you to all the cool places where you can listen to that song and support that artist's career. Because she's available on... if I'm not... Well, you know what? Why don't I just click on that? Because I have this artist's permission. And I'm allowed... You can now listen to that hot new track, because trust me, folks, it's actually really good. I think, unless you hate modern EDM type styled production music, produced music, whatever. If you hate that stuff, you're lost. I'm saying give it a try. Like it all reaches back to like tribal stuff and has some rhythms that like your body wants to listen to and wiggle, dance. It's danceable but then again, I'm a big weirdo, right? Anyways. Delusional, Rogue Sinner. Available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Google Play, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Tidal, Deezer, and Napster. Ooh, I want to do that. Hey, Rogue Sinner, my friend who just gave me permission to do this and play your song. How do I get a song whip? Say song whip. Song whip. Say cool whip. Cool whip. I'm a nerd. I love that joke. Don't sue me, guys. I can say that on my podcast, right? I can make pop cultural references and not drop links for every effing thing. I've watched a lot of media. What do you want from me? So go listen to this song. And now, debuting on the Almost Daily Zencast. And forgive me if this is totally not your kind of music. If it is totally not your kind of music, I apologize. Oh, you know what? I'm going to pause because it's going to sound better instead of playing it on my actually pretty nice speaker over here. I'm just going to I forgot to upload it for this episode. So this is the teaser letting you know that in an upcoming episode, I'm going to play that right here. Really nice live, really intense in your earbuds on my Sprecher.com music playing application for while I am broadcasting live. And if you're into podcasts, go to Sprecher. There's plenty of other podcasts. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this. I'm probably technically not allowed to advertise to you because you're not supposed to advertise anything. If you're nerdy enough to have followed along and listened to the Eula episodes, that's glorious freedom of speech in my opinion, folks. I know they're long and horrible, horribly long. I'm gonna do a thing when I catch back up to myself and post edit all these rough draft episodes. And updraft them into some more tightly produced, delightful deliciousness. We're going to do that soon, and then I'll make sure to make that all funnier. But I digress. Yeah, in an upcoming episode, I'm going to play Rogue Artist's new track, and it'll be dope. But for now, let's come back to whatever the heck I started out. Oh, welcome to reality. It's weird, folks. It's strange. And the questions I asked, have you ever, during the beginning, I just, produced that track right there. Hot off the presses, folks. DJ Zed giving it to you live on the Sprecher.com. I woke up today and was like, today is the new day. New Year's is... maybe on some sort of delayed lunar schedule here, but today's the first real day of 2020 for me. Or maybe I'm just lazy, right? And I'm like those people that say I'm going to go to the gym right after New Year's, right after whatever this thing in January that I have to do for work is, right after. And then, by March, by the Ides of March, we're sure are saving money not getting that gym membership. Proud of myself. I have done that literally. Life is bizarre, right? Why am I asking those questions? Because sincerely and authentically, right? If I were to set aside my brand name and my roleplay character and talk to you you bumped into me at the mall waiting for, a Cinnabon, and you asked me for reals you were having one of those days, and you were this stranger in this mall or on the bus or in a plane going somewhere far away, suddenly seems to get my weird, crazy, paranoid, is this all a dream? Is this all a cartoon? Is this all some TV show? Am I an avatar in some dumb fuck real life version of The Sims where I'm just being pushed around by some jerky kid on an arcade? And is my life even not real? What is reality? Kind of, nervousy, borderline breakdown days. I'd be whoa, it's cool, man. Yeah, yes, but no, but yes. And we'd be able to have a serious, genuine, authentic, human conversation with empathy and nothing about you're crazy and you should be in a hospital locked up. Reality is so much more than what the baseline, bare minimum, edutainment, mind, psyop, conditioning, programming that we get lets us understand or conceptualize or express to each other. And that's why people make art, right? Physics tells us the universe is infinite. And that's an easily, like, who gives a fuck kind of thing to point out. But if it's truly infinite, truly infinite, then an infinity of things must be going on. It can't all be mind-numbingly, stupidly empty void. Except for the bits that must be, right? Because it's all a fractal. Creating fractal tunnel probability waveform functions through which experience may be shared, experienced communally by all of us living meat sack puppets. Like many archetype characters in many adventures that we've shared and retold to ourselves as a species over time have said, yes, all the magic is real. Except that for all those numbnuts that castrated themselves magically and voted not to be able to experience it. Because I think that's the way it works. Let me let you in on something about myself, folks. For those of you listening along, if there's anything that you take away from my podcast, and maybe I talk about this too much. Maybe people are like, yeah, we heard your stupid theory. It's enough. Quit it. Oh, by the way, honest question for those of you listening, for reals. Would this show be more interesting if I did it in weird, like, I'm a theater guy, right? I was trained in some important theater academy somewhere in the world. And I could do a show like that. And I am an absurdist. And I guess in a way I already am doing a show like that. I've just been really weird and absentmindedly, like, not as theatery as I could have been, should have been, kind of, but the poll question is, because I think, right, like, if you give me The Office in American English and The Office from the delightful jolly land of all those crazy British people, I'll watch the British version, please. Because it's automatically funnier. I don't know why. And it's not like, I don't know, I guess maybe I wish I was British, despite all the baggage of that history. Like, we all have that baggage, right? Human beings have been horrible to other human beings, and we have to own up to it. We have to own up to it, folks. That's a secret in reality that's real. Everybody out there, forgive me, this is one of them hard pills to swallow. I'm going to share this with you as a real, honest, genuine opinion about the fabric of reality. For everybody out there, and I say this with love and compassion and with, like, the sending you healing vibes, that maybe if you happen to hear this and this applies to you and it makes you kind of triggery and upset, it might help you get over it and get through it and get into it and heal it and dissolve it and transmute it. But anybody and everybody that's like, well, that happened 200 years ago and not even my people, I'm not responsible for that bullshit. Like, no, we have to own up to that shit, brah. Because it's just you and me. It's just us and them. It's just the infinity, like, of consciousness puppeteering all these meat sacks. So if you claim to take responsibility for your own life, and you also claim to be, quote, spiritual, but if you claim to be, a person, a real human person that takes responsibility for themselves in the world, and trust me, that is not easy. Everybody gets a big fat hug. Everybody take a deep breath. Adulting is hard. It really is. And deep down, we're all, like, traumatized, fucked up, injured inner children, right? Like, that's real. You have an inner child. It is a phenomenological functioning of your multifaceted mind phenomena, which is not some singular individual delineated, ego mask. Your identity is many things. That which you consider yourself is more than one singularity. It's like many facets of a shimmering gem, all of which have their own interesting point of view and slant and approach to things. Which is why sometimes we can experience some very bizarre and disorienting self-othering, like we feel like, oh shit, this is something other than myself. It's because, yeah, there is a lot of something other than yourself going on. Because we have a really dumb, flat, cartoony view of what the self is. And there is real, authentic, hard work. Internal, wordless work. Work that's hard to describe, but easy to point to. Work that's hard to do, but also easy to engage with and become involved with and find meaningfulness within, because it's good and healing. And all the ancient masters, pick your favorite. You like the Jesus with the blue hair and the blonde and the blue hair and the blonde eyes. Sorry, you like the Jesus with the blue eyes and the blonde hair? That's fine. It doesn't matter. A little racist, just remember that that's not what he really looked like, and that's not who he really was, etc., etc. But everybody who spoke shared about some fundamental truths, and it's one of those things is that divinity is not somewhere else dislocated and outside of a small little world that's like a fishbowl. Although, also, yeah, kinda it is. But it isn't some gnarly old dude that's gonna destroy us and send us down to some evil dungeon place where he's employed some of his own creatures to poke you and destroy you and torture your flesh forever. That's here and now. We're doing that to ourselves as we live and breathe somewhere on this earth. Someone is living through some unimaginable hell, emotional, physical, or spiritual, or otherwise, caused by no one other than ourselves. And that's a hard pill to swallow. And that is true throughout the probability waveform function plot points of our shared movie experience, right? We all share this phenomena, and here's the kicker. Here's the real hardcore secret. If I was a super mega deep magic life coach, this is what I would charge billions of dollars to get. Only the most expensive people can hear this, can tell me to tell them that. But your mind is like a voting box. You tripping out about voting now for the puppet in the office? Take that much care and concern with every thought you think. Every self-deprecating, self-loathing thing you put out into yourself, into the inner cosmos that is your inner world, gets echoed and somehow made manifest out there. Somehow. And that's not crazy, wild sci-fi, and that's not crazy, super hippie, new age, muckaboo nonsense that must be ignored. Because if it weren't true, it wouldn't impact people in real ways in their lives when they are aligned with it or in tune to it. Call me crazy, but I've lived through too much shit to say otherwise, to pretend otherwise. And that's me telling you the God's honest truth. If you want me to swear on a Bible, on a Koran, on that other dude's book, on this book or that, I'm wearing my doodly robes. For those of you who maybe have stumbled across this podcast and happen to be aware of the Latter-day Church of Dudism, I am, in fact, an ordained minister in that church. I don't hang out in any of the chat places, and I don't engage with the formal body of that church very much. And I am probably deeply overdue for a rewatching of the movie. But, like all made-up religions, because all religions are made up, folks, all religions in the world and throughout history have been crazy, nonsensical ideas infused with a lot of ego trap that we done made up to talk about the thing out there and in here that is manifestly actually happening, but we don't want you to know how to engage with. And that is a true darn fact. Brighter than the day is the sun. What? More true than the sun is what makes daylight. And I say that to you in a corny voice, not to be rude and not to make fun of anybody, but to be ridiculous and absurd. And also to, I don't know, I guess in a way start exercising that cartooniness of myself. But also to kind of like, I don't know, if I were at a bar with someone in Alabama and who approached me, I may kind of like, I wouldn't want to talk like that to them as if I were making fun of them, but I would sort of be like, hey, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm an actor and I have this weird knack where like I love dialect. And so if I meet someone with a really interesting, quote, accent, which is technically incorrect terminology, and there's a raging battle amongst the theater nerds, and yeah, I'm pushing that button. There's a difference between dialect and accent, and like even in the same language, there's multiple dialects, and each of them have their own accent. They're two different words. Don't use them interchangeably. I digress. Sometimes that slips in, and I may sort of warm up to a little bit of a pattern adjustment, in part because, believe it or not, I was having this really beautiful discussion about this very recently with a delightful person that is in the business of education and like language acquisition education, like teaching people language. And we got into the delightful area of comprehending and sharing with each other our understandings that the way we talk, how we speak, is more important than we give it credit to a lot of people, and that to the extent that as a group of people, as a community, like as a state, as members of nation state, locally and at the national level, we draw lines of prejudice, and we get caught up in talking about the color of people's skins, but also we draw those lines around the way people sound when they talk, and we make presumptions or assumptions or judgments, or perhaps less toxic discernments, if we're really happy woke, which I say with some sarcasm, but yeah, and that we shouldn't really, because if we're going to get real nerdy about it, folks, all human beings are 99.9999999999999999999% genetically identical. And so who cares how we talk? Even if it seems to activate people's need to judge and dislike each other. We need to get past that sort of stuff. And we can. Oh, but so many people are like, that's not possible in some form or another. And you know what? I'm really starting to get a bit burnt out on that kind of, I'm like, well, not with that attitude. Is starting to be just my default. Like, not with that attitude. Think about it. Think about it. I humbly implore you to just think about it. And now, folks, I'm going to wrap things up by playing you... Ooh, I think I forgot to upload it. I'm just going to close the episode with the track I did today, and I'm not going to talk through it. Just going to let you hear, let your ears absorb my latest creation, DJ Mission New Jazz Funk 101. We tried in here to have feelings. And leave you with this set of questions. Reality is more than we've let ourselves understand. And it's weird. And maybe, just maybe, we need to make some adjustments about some of our assumptions about what is and is not within the realm of reality. Oh, speaking of, talk about some interesting, weird synergies. And maybe this is, in part, go save some lives. I don't know if that if you could hear that on the other end of the podcast, maybe you could. But I left the window open, sort of absentmindedly, and I just heard some kind of siren, like zip on by the main thoroughfare outside. And I said, go save some lives, because I do that. I literally, every time, out loud or in private, in the inner sanctum of my mind, I say that sort of thing. But I digress. Language is fascinating. We judge ourselves about it, and each other about it, and maybe we shouldn't. We also neglect a lot of ways about the way it works. We don't use language to its fullest potential. Even right now in this day and age of super smart technology and learning, creating, inventing languages with which we can then do things that we can't do with our basic regular language. Oh, right. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, my bell's way over there. Connecting some dots. One of the really bizarre, most intense thoughts that I had with this conversation, during this conversation with this delightful human being I was having in person, who is a teacher and works in teaching and has taught, people of all different ages, is this totally bass-ackwards, inaccurate approach that we take, like this template that we try and learn language later in life. And, and it's not impossible, but what is it that babies do, right? From day one, what is it that parents and baby and their children do is language acquisition. And we hit upon this really fascinating theoretical statement because, and I'm sure we're not the first. Plenty of other people in the language field have probably proven this, right? I bet if my computer's not on. I'm just really rambling off the cuff today. I had no notes prepared. But language acquisition is what the machine is doing. It's what the meat sacks are doing automatically. To get a little bit dismissive there about the human experience. If we adjusted our assumptions about education so that instead of just presuming that it would be impossible and overwhelming for a child in kindergarten and in pre-K to engage in the learning of multiple languages, we would have brilliant, much more well-educated army of polyglots, right? Of people who can speak 3, 4, 5 languages. Because if you start right after the establishment of the fundamental self-awareness around language, and then go, cool, you just mastered the one that we speak in home because it's our family's native tongue. Here's all these other cool languages. Which ones do you want to learn? Right then. And engage in I don't know what it would take in terms of teachers and deployment, but engaged in immersion and just the absorption of it. Toddlers in diapers would be able to pick up 5, 6, 7, 8, if not arguably, and I don't know if anyone's done this science experiment, and I bet it would be not allowed to be done. You'd have to be really rich and the owner of the company that does the science, right? Like in some dystopian sci-fi movie. But I bet you that if you raise some children with the gentle and not over rigorous, overthought, ego-driven kind of, just the gentle, nurturing, through caring immersion of language, of multiple languages, a child or a group of children could master probably all the known languages in the world, growing up, as if it were ain't no thing, instead of just 1 or 2, and feeling otherfied and different and distant from all other people. We could indeed fluently and beautifully integrate, and I think that would probably render some really deep, meaningful understandings about ourselves, our experience, how we think, how we create culture, how we build society, and that sort of thing would be breakthrough. But because of these default assumptions made by adults in power that would be, quote, impossible, we never do it. Except for whatever nut jobs out there might have already done it because they're like, weirdo rich people we've never heard of. Not weird. I'm not saying that with judgment. Eccentric like myself. I am an eccentric person. If there are eccentric people out there that are already like, I have trained my offspring to know all the languages of the world. I'd love to hear it from you and sit down for a Conversations With episode and chit chat about that. I put that out there as a weird abstract theory that like there's a lot to, as a way to extrapolate that in reality, there's a lot about our society and our politics and our religion that is self-limiting in that same way. And not just about language, but about the way our mind works, the way our body works, the way our relationship to this, quote, place works, the way the place itself works, and how and where and in what way we might be able to understand our relationship to that which we call reality, and enfolded in that which we call divinity. And, by extension, how we relate to each other. And if we could transform that understanding, transform that healing, transform that relationship, transform those modalities of understanding, that's how we would be healed. For your contemplation. Until next time, I've been the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo, and now DJ Mission New Jazz Funk 101. We tried in here to have feelings.